Bro, your dad followed the pod today.
Oh,
He's
that's dope.
tapped in. He's doing his homework. It- he's on Chicago. He's off Chicago YouTube. Hopefully, he is beyond tapped in.
Chicago
The
YouTube?
Bulls?
No, like
Like
drill.
drill?
Like he is
Oh.
like he's talking to my roommate about. Oh yeah, like you heard about Duck. You heard like He's talking about telling me to do my homework. That was my reference like 2 pods ago. Oh my
Oh,
god.
Jesus. Oh, good Lord.
Have you heard about Duck?
That's crazy. Think about
Mhm.
your dad. That's wild, bruh. Anyway, welcome to another episode of the Wright Quality Podcast. I'm too lost to even do my whole spiel. Y'all know who I am, Mr. Qualified. It's your boy, all that good jazz. But yeah, co-host, friends, please remind the people who you are.
It's Ashley Wright the first. I'm already cracking up. We haven't even gotten started for real. This is crazy.
Welcome. Number 3 out of Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. Worst statue in the game, AI.
Let's start. Actually, let's start there. I'm glad you.
Mhm.
Let's start there. They've been doing statues all wrong. 2020.
Mhm.
They got Kobe's wrong. Okay. And okay, so they gave some context. Apparently, there are multiple miniature statues like in the training complex for the Sixers. So AI wasn't done dirty in comparison. But I don't know. I just feel like the statue could have been better either way. I
I
don't know.
think you guys in the chat were saying it was bad. I thought it was nice. I thought it looked great. I think we're just thinking what it's got to be bigger. Like it's you know that he deserves something grander in stature outside because it's AI.
It wouldn't have been fair though to the other legends that they have out there. It's like a walk of fame, but not a star. The small statues, which I think is a dope concept, but it is kind of embarrassing.
I don't know what I expected. I guess I expected it to be. I didn't do my homework. I didn't know it was gonna be part of the Philly Walk of Fame in the training complex. I thought AI getting a statue. He getting a statue. He's getting a Kobe. Now, granted, obviously they have larger statues just outside of crypto, but yeah, that's tough because I wouldn't say AI is the only Philly legend like deserving of a larger statue. I think I was just shocked because when I when I first saw the video, I was like, "This is it." I said, "Wait," I said, "Where the rest of the statue at? What's going on?" But I'm glad he got one. I wish there was a space where he could get a larger one, but just based on how Philly has done it historically, I mean, it's fine. Maybe if he wasn't bent down, I don't know. It's fine. It's fine. It's fine. They could have had the ball more in his hand though. They're not getting statues right in
I could
2024.
have been under it a little bit more just to really.
Not you saying AI is the master carrier.
Mhm.
I mean, they did him dirty. I mean, it's the modern day NBA. I studied this man. One of my first basketball shoes.
That's also big facts. Him and Marbury. But back to our original
I
docket.
have signed Starberries. Shouts out.
Facts.
I got the little tracksuit. I'll wear it next
You got the
fit.
tracksuit too?
Yeah. Yep.
That's real. That's real. But we will start.
$15. Sorry.
We will start in college, and we will start with what was the lackluster Final Four and championship
Boo.
of the men's bracket. Um, yeah, Final Four was cool, I guess. NC State versus Purdue was all right in terms of the matchup of the bigs. Nothing too special about it. I don't even know if I watched Alabama and UConn. But We got UConn Purdue in the championship. I think I thought it might have been close for the first 10 minutes of the first half. And after that, it was pretty clear what was going to happen. UConn was just a better team. Purdue had no offense outside of Edey, really, and he struggled. I don't know if it was more so physicality, if that's what it was, but I think just playing against some more size and against a better overall team defense, he just seemed to really struggle with that. I mean, he still had a dominant, tourney. I guess he's seen as a major NBA prospect. I'll let y'all comment first on that. But
NBA prospect.
Is he one?
I mean, like bench big to fill minutes. Yeah. I mean, he's gonna have to learn how to defend the paint much better, like in a completely different way. If a team can use him as a Brook Lopez, I mean, and he can bang a three here and there.
Yeah.
We've seen it
that
be
his
done.
player comp? Is Brook Lopez his player comp?
Brook Lopez never really was that great of a defender. He never was that great of a three-point shooter. I mean, if he's set for the mission, if he's determined to prove people wrong like he says he is, who knows? But I mean, foot speed has to get better. And yeah, like there's Wemby in the league now. But I don't know. Like I said, bench big, 13, 15 minutes a game.
I can see it. Thoughts on
Yeah.
tourney championship game from y'all?
Overall, I don't want to say, I mean, it was boring. It was predictable. Like, obviously, UConn is just a much more sound team than almost each and every one of their opponents. So you could kind of pick them out since the Sweet 16, I think. But yeah, I think Edey just definitely had trouble in the paint going up against someone his size at 7'2". And then the guard play of UConn too, they were able to kind of play inside out, even if UConn couldn't post up, they could kick it out beyond the three or get some slashers going. So like I said, pretty predictable. Not as fun, but I am interested to see what Edey does at the next level. I don't have high hopes, but I wouldn't be surprised if he was able to thrive.
I think it would depend on situation for someone like Edey. Cause I mean, honestly, I don't feel too much differently about Klingon. I mean, but it's just because the bigs that succeed in the league now are elite. Like they're just elite. Size does not get you anywhere. Like size alone doesn't get you anywhere in the league anymore. So, and I think you're not seeing too many players, at least when I'm thinking about what I've seen in college basketball, there aren't too many bigs that have the fluidity that like the top bigs in the league have. And granted, yes, it takes time, but that's so dependent on organization you go to. That's so dependent on vets you have, who you actually, get a chance to work with. I think that goes back to the point of how much time do you have to make those strides for somebody to see you as valuable past year 2, year 3. So how long are you a project? So I don't know. But I mean, is Edey a lottery pick?
No.
Mm-mm.
First round, latter half.
I think they had Klingon as a top 10. I saw that today on
interesting.
Bleacher Report. And there's a French guy coming out that's 7 feet, and he's top 5 projected. So
yeah. Well, yeah, enough of that lackluster Final Four and championship. To the women's, which is what we all care about at this point. Let's start where the debauchery begins. Let's go back to the Final Four game. You can't call that.
no.
That's all I have to say. You cannot make that call in that game at that time. You just can't. I don't care if she was moving. I don't think she was, but I don't care if she was. Okay. You have to let a shot. You have to let a shot decide that game. You have to. It's too good of a game. It's too good of a game. You can't do that. I think I don't want to say it ruined any seasons or nothing like that. I still think seasons by all teams were great. The tournament was great. The Final Four and ultimately the championship was still great. But that's a really hard game to look at and not feel like UConn got robbed. Because of course we don't know if Paige hits that shot, but you gotta see. You have to let that ride out. So I don't know. But y'all thoughts on that Final Four and any other thoughts on ultimately the championship game as well?
No, retweet, emphasize whatever you do on technical devices to amplify a message that you agree with. Seriously, you took all the words out of my mouth. I totally agree. I think as the ref, you just have to let that play on. It wasn't even an obvious moving screen. Like I had to rewatch a couple times to see if there was, true movement there. I feel like that's a play where you can let them play on. It's been a good game thus far. It's a little physicality. It's a semifinals game before the championship. Like you have to let that go. Um, and yeah, I just feel like everyone wanted to see what will come about from that play. Whether Paige did make the shot, whether she didn't, but we weren't able to see that because of a call that was so 50-50. And I think that was the most upsetting of it all. If it was blatant, okay, yeah, cool, call it. Whatever other foul would have been blatant. But since it was so 50-50, let that ride.
Yeah.
That is all. That's that.
Gail, y'all, Miguel called me after this game and went on a rant. Mind you, we were both ranting, but granted, we both did say what he said, but still, in the moment, it was very much it's just for such a great, like, let's just talk about the game, right? Like, the game itself was great. Thoughts on how Caitlin Clark was defended and how she looked in that Final Four game?
Nika Mule
Oh my God.
solidified herself a first round pick, like in the WNBA draft. She was in Caitlin's jersey. Like that was beautiful defense on a team that had what, a 6-7 woman rotation. And
Yeah.
Caitlin's really good at drawing like those ticky tack fouls. For Nika to stay in front of her and bother her all night like that, amazing.
Yes, Nick Mule was doing, an incredible job on Caitlin because she didn't have a game that anyone thought that she would. But yeah, end of the game. I don't know. I want to see a game. I don't want to see a referee job.
Yeah. No, it was. I mean, Nika Mule played. I have never seen Caitlin so frustrated, and I think
Mhm.
that was the big piece. Like it wasn't that Caitlin didn't get her shots that we've seen her make. She just wasn't, talk about not comfortable. Like we talk about the first half of that LSU game, but there was no avalanche that came after the fact. This was 40 minutes of she has to work. Like some of the shots she did get, like she had to work so hard just to get the ball. And I think that translated into the South Carolina game as well. I don't know if that's, foreshadowing what will happen when she gets to the league, given some of the horror stories that Tarasi was given on Burton Tarasi. It looked like she might be in for a little wake up call, reality check, and she gonna have what's the phrase I'm thinking about? She's gonna be a
Lauren?
target. She'll have a target on her back. Yes. Coming into the league, just given how big she is, her name is, her legend is at this point. I think everybody's gonna want to take their shot at her. But yes, big shouts out to UConn. Very excited to see what they look like next year and see what Paige does and what will most likely be her final collegiate year. But in the championship game, thoughts on, we'll start with the game. Thoughts there on how the game went.
Oh man, I love that game. I'm not gonna lie. To see Iowa get out to a 20-9 lead, that was very unexpected. They came out swinging, but it was similar to what they did last season in the championship game against LSU. They came out strong. They played their game, and then it just took the adjustment of their opponents this year being South Carolina. You knew Dawn Staley wasn't going to go out that sad. It was a matter of time when they were able to catch their rhythm. And I think the real momentum changer was letting freshman Malaysia Fulwiley come in the game. And she was giving Iowa buckets. They couldn't stay in front of her. She's too speedy. And that was really the shift. I think once she got in the game, South Carolina basically rode the wave that she brought to the floor, and rightfully so. And then, of course, Raven Johnson having the chip on her shoulder, wanting to come out and ball, and the double-double from Cardoso, that was huge. They just played really, really good basketball like they've been playing all season to be undefeated.
Yeah, it was a great team effort by South Carolina. For Wiley is different. Hey,
Oh,
she is different. Okay, it's gonna be
The
really.
loudest 9 points ever.
You said the loudest.
Yeah.
Yeah, no facts. But she has moments, and I think just because of how she plays, her passion, her game, like I don't know, like yeah, it's just they got to. I mean, South Carolina even being able to do what they did after losing 5 starters. I mean, one that's a testament to Dawn, but we gonna get to Dawn in a minute. But but yeah, no, I unfortunately I only got to see the second quarter live, but just in keeping up with the game and seeing the highlights, when they jumped out to the start, when I saw they jumped out to the start, I said, I don't know what this means, and I don't know if they can keep this up the entire game. But I didn't see South Carolina allowing them to keep it up the entire game. But once again, I think once Caitlin cooled down, I think you saw again that the focal point became you don't let her get into a rhythm. You don't let her get the team into a rhythm. And it's not to say like Iowa has some great players, so it's not to say like they necessarily only have Caitlin Clark, but of course I think they go as far as Caitlin takes them. So I think it was a great job by South Carolina, and we can segue into Dawn because what's this 3 for her?
yeah. Yes. 3 out of 7. 3 in the last 7 years.
That's
Hey man,
crazy.
say man.
And undefeated too? What?
So Ashley, you might be a little bit more privy to this just because I know I haven't been in the circles or having the conversations more specifically around women's basketball. I think people are if you know hoops, you know who Dawn Staley is. But in the context of her coaching career and after this championship, what's the conversation around Dawn now? Like a lot of people she's getting her flowers and stuff like that. But from a standpoint of pedigree, rings, is there a conversation starting to be had? Was that conversation already being had, or is it new? Like, just where does this put her?
I think the conversation is tricky. It is beginning to be had, but it's tricky because you have coaches such as Tara Vanderveer, who just retired, or Gino Ariema, the late great Pat Summitt, who have cemented their legacies, but they came into the game a long time ago, right? And so it's like Dawn is fairly new to the coaching side of college basketball, but what she's done in the past 7 years, the development in Asia Wilson, the development in Aaliyah Boston, and now Camila Cordoso, what she's done defensively with Raven Johnson only a year later, shutting down Caitlin Clark. It's it's a true testament to what she is as a coach. Also, even leading Team USA. So like I said, the conversation is being had, but the question now isn't whether or not she's worthy of being in the conversation. It's more so, is it too early? We know at some point it's probably going to be Dawn and undeniably Dawn. What we're seeing now, like, man, 3 championships in 7 years. I can't say it enough. That's a tough feat. Like, that's tough. Um, but yeah, I'm happy that the conversation is starting right now. I don't think it's too early either, because if you think about it, like you said, Steve, this is an all new starting five. This team was not supposed to be here, and they're here undefeated, champions. One senior that was a starter in Cordoso. Like, that's crazy.
Yeah, and I think she'll keep getting players. She'll keep getting players because I don't think there's a player that wouldn't want to play for Dawn Staley, right?
Yeah.
And I think that what's interesting is, do you think that college is where she'll stay forever, or do you feel like she's meant to be on at the next stage or at the next level? And will that affect the conversation that she's currently being tossed into, or is that not limited to college?
I think like a lot of coaches that were before her, she'll end up staying in college. Like the names I mentioned before, Muffin McGraw stayed in college, Tara Vanderveer, Gina Auriemma. I think where she'll get that fix of coaching professional players will be Team USA.
That's real. That tracks. Final question, as far as like all things tournament concerned, what did this year, and I know it kind of started last year, but what did this year do for women's basketball? And what is the lasting impact you think it'll have?
It cemented it. Last year was like the bubbling up point where it's like, whoa, this had higher ratings than the guys did. And this year it was just like, of course it was. Like, I don't know. It was the better, objectively better basketball. I don't think you could even say subjectively. I think for all parties that watched, it's like it was the storylines were better. The brand of basketball, like it was so back and forth. I think all four, like from that Iowa LSU game to like UConn Iowa, I think every halftime pretty much had a tie score or it was within like 4 points. It was nuts.
No, I think the same thing, Miguel. And the proof is in the sales. Like ticket sales for the Indiana Fever went up because they have the first pick and they know Caitlin's going there. Even TV, the Fever have 36 national TV games. The W is on the rise now. It's not just college basketball for women, and you love to see that.
Yeah, no, that is great. I think we might have mentioned it last pod, but I'm hoping that the W has more televised games in general. I mean, I hope that Caitlin Clark is just the start of that, but there's a lot of talent in the W, a lot of talent worthy of being on national television. And which doesn't make sense to me, the summer becomes such a dead time in sports that I don't see why that wouldn't be highlighted more. Like, especially once you get past June and once the finals are over, in that dead time where, okay, well, yes, you have baseball back, but I mean, you have the Olympics this year. So this year is a bit of an anomaly. But nonetheless, there's still a prime slot, I feel like, for people who maybe aren't baseball fans. There's more basketball being played, but that gets into a completely different conversation because you got men, unfortunately,
Mhm.
who may not be fans of baseball, but will rather watch men play baseball than women play basketball. We ain't gonna get into the weeds of that. You know, that's just ignorant. Just throwing that out.
But
Deep side one. Deep
no,
side
no, but not even in that way. I'm just talking
I
about
didn't
like
even hear
get
that.
into them because like I don't feel that way at all. So
no facts. It's a different realm of the species than us, Gail. Different realm of the species. We good. But also shout out during like all like the games. Love that they were very intentional about having all black women broadcasters as well covering the game. I thought that was extremely dope to see just throughout the tournament, really, honestly. So that was dope as well. But yeah, that was March Madness 2024. Women's lived up to it. Men's figure out how to be better next year. But got to get to the pros, man. We've been teasing it. We've been talking about it. We've been trying to put it off for some time now. But we're virtually here, right? Granted, seeding isn't completely finalized, but we're virtually here. It's playoff time. How are we feeling now, given that the playoffs start in a week? By the time this airs, the play-in will be happening. But as the playoffs are looming, thoughts on everything. Who's standing out? Who's your pretenders? Who's your contenders? What's the landscape looking like now that we right around the corner?
Oh, I'll defer to y'all first because I know this will be so juicy.
Yeah, you got
um
it.
sure. The West, it is anyone's game. I mean, but then it's Nuggets, and then everyone at this point. Like from what I saw the other night, they're doing what the Bucks like could dream of doing, which is developing young players into solid role players that will play crucial minutes in games that they need to be playing because duh. As for the East, it's like I don't know. I think Boston is really the team to beat. I hate to say it. if there's one year that I will say it, I'll be rational today and say that they've done it all year, and as long as they're healthy, it's up for everyone else to take a crack at them. Or Miami is the defending Eastern Conference champ, so all roads lead through Miami at this point. So we don't know how playoff Jimmy's gonna start the year. We could see them pop the Celtics right away. I could be wrong. So I don't know. I think like all to say in my ramble, it's truly a crapshoot for both teams, for both conferences. I really have no favorites besides the Nuggets.
I don't think I
Boring.
have any true pretenders this season. It's been such a wacky season. But I do feel like Denver and the Celtics are top dogs. I think the West is a little more wide open because I can't wait to see how Anthony Edwards plays. If we get
And Cat is back.
and Cat is back, if we get the Timberwolves that we got in the middle of the season before Cat got injured, that series I think is wide open.
Naz Reid has been playing phenomenal.
Phenomenal basketball. And I feel like Ant is on a mission. And I love it. I love it. And I cannot wait to see how it translates to the playoffs, potentially the Western Conference Finals, potentially against Denver. No knock against the Thunder either. I just don't think that they can keep up with those two teams.
Yeah, no, that's real. I agree. Solely off of matchups alone, the West is wide open because the wrong matchup could screw up everything, right?
Yes.
So the only matchup that's locked right now is 4 or 5, which it's gonna be a doozy. I can't wait.
It repeats itself.
I can't wait till Luka gets their number again. I can't wait. But I agree. First, I agree with all sentiments about both conferences, really. West is gonna be so interesting just because it's a bloodbath. All the first round matchups are gonna be insane. That play-in is ridiculous.
Yeah,
However it shapes up, it's gonna be insane. The East is interesting because I think a lot of teams are playing good basketball. And what's weird about the East is more competitive than I think people give it credit for. And although Boston is, a head above the rest of the teams in the conference, just how they looked all season, New York's been playing great basketball as of late. I still think they're an extremely tough out. Cleveland is like 50-50, but like at their best, they're a tough out. But depending on that matchup, they may get out the first round if they're in that 4 or 5 and they get Orlando or Indiana. Maybe that's their best shot, in my opinion. But then you have the case of,
I think they only beat Orlando in that one too.
But then I was gonna say, then you have the case of, does Indiana do they have a different energy come playoffs, given that they have a little bit more of a playoff built roster now with Siakam, just a little bit. But then you also having Philly, who knows if they're going to be 6 or 7, having Miami right there. I think between Chicago and Atlanta, I don't know if one of them ultimately gets in to the 8 seed, but I think maybe not in that first round versus Boston, but I think every other matchup is still going to be very competitive. And then when you get to that Final Four, whoever it could possibly be, I think those are still going to be 6-game series. At least they had a potential to be, bare minimum. So with that, have a list. I'm going to name a team. Need y'all to say if they're pretenders or contenders.
Okay.
Right. But I only have about 10 teams. So I'm considering these to be legit chances.
Mm-hmm.
I know this answer, but Celtics.
Contenders.
Contenders.
Come on, Miguel.
Timberwolves.
Contenders.
Contenders, yeah.
The Heat.
Pretenders.
Pretenders, yeah. Pretenders.
The Thunder.
Pretenders.
Contenders.
Interesting. Suns.
Pretenders.
Contenders.
Ooh, Bucks,
Contenders.
Pretender.
I felt that coming from you, Ashley. It's okay. Clippers,
After we
Pretenders.
come live, smack OKC. Wait, who?
Clipper,
Contenders. Yeah.
Pretenders.
Cavs,
Pretenders.
Pretenders.
Knicks,
Pretenders.
Pretenders.
Nuggets,
Contenders.
Lakers,
Pretenders.
Contenders.
Mavs,
Pretenders.
Yeah, pretenders. The last two, Lakers, Mavs, are pretenders with more of a contending ability.
Mavs.
I can't say
Mavs might be the scariest team coming into the playoffs. And if they get out now, the only thing is if they do get out the 4 or 5 matchup, they get Denver, unless Denver somehow like they lose these 2 games and end up being 2 or 3. But I don't see that happening given who they play. But I don't know. The way Luka's been playing, Luka probably has the most complete team that he's ever had, arguably. So if he has enough of a supporting cast and he does what he does, he's one of those guys that if he has enough help, he can take you over the hump if you give him enough help. So I don't know. But yeah, I agree though. I think Mavs and Lakers, it's all about what type of basketball are they playing and which series are they in. So I don't know if the Lakers somehow manage to get that 7 seed, like if they can, I don't know, magically get out of 9 and be in 8, to play for that 7 seed, and they get it, that's their best shot. I do think if they were to be the 8 seed and they play Denver, it would be interesting. I think Denver still wins, but I don't think it'll be a sweep. Just because ideally they'd be a little bit fresher and catching them as the playoffs start, as opposed to, when Denver might catch their rhythm or after they done had to fight through 2 series to get to them type of deal. So yeah. But yeah, it's hard to call. I mean, you could easily say Denver, Boston, just from how the regular season has looked, but a lot can happen in the playoffs. I don't know. And certain players, they do tee up. So it'll be interesting to see.